Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about whether your cleric, your player character cleric, should be a zealot in your D&D 5th edition game, or if you as a dungeon master should reward zealotry in cleric player characters. I'll give you my answer, and I want to hear your answer in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I think it's a deep and philosophical question, and I'd love to explore this with you. Let's go. All right. So should your cleric be a zealot? All right. Modern answer, right? No. Oh, modern uninformed answer. No, right? Most Americans are like, oh, zealotry, that's when somebody believes in a religion too hard, right? But there's actually a fiction piece that really brought new light to this recently, and it's The Mandalorian. So season 2 of The Mandalorian is out. I just watched episode 2. I watched season 2, episode 4 of The Mandalorian. I'm going to discuss, spoiler warning, I'm going to discuss it here. And so basically, you know, we're dealing with The Mandalorian. And The Mandalorian, what he has been doing is he's been traveling the universe, trying to find other Mandalorians, right? And he's searching for these other Mandalorians. And what he's finding is he's finding a whole bunch of people wearing Mandalorian armor who aren't Mandalorian, right? So in season 2, episode 1, he finds the Marshal, who's just this town sheriff who found some Mando armor, right? Some Mandalorian armor. He's not a Mandalorian. He admits it. And the way that the Mandalorian knows, right, that these people are not Mandalorian is the first thing they do is they all whip their helmets off, right? So the Marshal whips his helmet off. Mando immediately, real Mando, right? Mando, the Mandalorian that the whole show is based on. He's like, oh, you're not a real Mandalorian. Then he comes across Bo-Katan, who has 2 additional soldiers fighting with her. And the question becomes, is Bo-Katan a Mandalorian, or is she a soldier in Mandalorian armor? Now, I'll give you my answer. She's a soldier in Mandalorian armor. But what was really fascinating is in season 2, episode 4, Bo-Katan is introduced, and she says, oh, and she whips off her helmet, and she's like, what's up, dude? I'm a Mandalorian. And he goes, you're not. And he's like, what are you doing? Why did you? He says, that's not the way, right? It's definitely a thing in the Mandalorian show. This is the way, right? And so she explains to the other 2 soldiers who have Mandalorian armor who are with her. She says like, oh, you're one of those zealots who believe that you need to keep your helmet on all the time, right? So you believe the old written traditions of the Mandalorian way and the lived way, you know, of all these Mandalorians. But that's inconvenient, and we're just like casual Mandos, right? And we're Mandalorian just like you. We just don't do the things that Mandalorians do, right? And you're like, oh boy, right? And here's the thing, right? So who's cooler? Is it Bo-Katan or the Mandalorian? Well, you get your answer in about 10 minutes after that scene when Mando saves all 3 of them by rushing forward into a hail of laser fire and throwing 2 hand grenades forward and taking out an entire squad of stormtroopers, while the 3 Mandalorians, while the 3 soldiers in Mandalorian armor, including Bo-Katan, hide in a corner, right? Like Mando kills more, like Mando just wrecks more foes before breakfast than these guys can get done as an entire squad all week, right? So basically, Bo-Katan's saying you're a zealot, but the reality is, what he is he's the thing, and he's staying to the way, right? He's saying, this isn't a suggestion for me. I'm not casual about what I do. I'm Mando hard, right? That brings the question directly into our Dungeons & Dragons games. The Mandalorian show has shown us zealots are super cool, right? And because they're so dedicated and they don't casual it up, they absolutely freaking rule, and they're way beyond their casual counterparts, right? So while our modern uninformed answer is, oh, zealots are bad, right? As soon as you watch Mando season 2, episode 4, you're like, oh, snap. In fiction, zealots rock, right? Like, and so, and reality is, it's very clear, right? And so if you want to have a really super dope cleric, I suggest you absolutely run them as a zealot. Run them as though they actually believe the sacred texts of their god, right? And then also are not casual about it. Like, they're super hardcore about it, right? Because they're going to be just more intense and more powerful. And as a dungeon master, you should absolutely really reward this. How can you reward it in a simple, fast way? Zealots wake up every single day with inspiration, because they are literally inspired by the sacred written, the sacred handed down, the sacred orb texts of their deity, right? And they wake up knowing truth and being very hardcore about what they do, knowing they're going to rock the day while a bunch of casuals, hunker in a corner waiting for them to get the job done. Zealots rock. Run your cleric as a zealot. If you're a dungeon master, reward zealotry, right? This is the way. Or am I wrong? Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.